Hello and welcome to this new video on Comics Bazaar. The focus today is X-Men Volume 2, 1991, issue number 3. So this particular issue is cover dated December 1991 and it cost $1. Now you'll see that there's a signature across the title, and that's because I got this comic signed 4 years ago in October 2018 by author Chris Claremont at a comics convention in London. So the cover here depicts the two X-Men teams, X-Men Blue Team and Gold Team, fighting each other in Jim Lee's composition here on the cover. And the reason they're fighting is because the blue team of Cyclops, Gambit, Rogue, Psylocke, Wolverine and Beast are under the control of Magneto. And the gold team of Storm, Archangel, Iceman, Colossus and Jean Grey Marvel Girl are attempting to rescue Professor X from Asteroid M, where he's imprisoned by Magneto. So this is the third and final part of a 3-issue story arc that began in the double-sized X-Men number 1. And indeed, this is also the final issue of X-Men by Chris Claremont. And you'll see that noted in the banner above the issue titles, the issue's story title, Fallout. So Stan Lee proudly presents Chris Claremont's final issue of the X-Men. Claremont began writing the X-Men in 1975. His first issue of the title was issue number 94. You can see the cover there. So that was cover dated August 1975. And the credits on the inside splash page, Len Wein was the plotter and editor, but Claremont was the writer. And the next issue, number 95, Claremont is credited as sole writer. So 16 years producing X-Men comics, and this is the final one. Now Claremont did return 9 years later in May 2000 for issue number 100, but for that 9-year period he did not work on any of the X titles, any of these characters, that it was his writing above all that sent these characters stratospheric in their popularity. So the splash page here, we see the blue team depicted by, and Magneto depicted by Jim Lee, and in the foreground is a glider designed by the mutant X-Man Forge, and the glider is made of non-metallic materials so that Magneto won't be able to control it, and the glider is approaching asteroid M. So outside of the glider, Archangel and Storm are they have the mutant power of flight, and they are approaching asteroid M independently as an advance guard to make preparations for the arrival of the glider. And Jean and Forge and the others aboard are concerned about the success of their mission. They're against time as well, because the USA and Soviet Union have reached an agreement on what they call the Magneto protocols, and the USSR has launched a plasma cannon into the Earth's atmosphere that is targeting asteroid M and is on a countdown to destroy asteroid M and Magneto aboard. So here we see Nick Fury and Dr. Valerie Cooper and some diplomats, including the Soviet ambassador there at the UN, and they're talking and discussing the exigencies of attacking asteroid M and whether they're going to succeed or not. Now, Forge is listening in on the debate and discussion at the UN, and so that further feeds in to the anxiety regarding whether they're going to succeed or not in their mission. So they're getting closer now to asteroid M, and aboard Magneto's home, there's a little dialogue there between Fabian Cortez and Magneto regarding what is happening with Professor X, who appears to be asleep, but Fabian Cortez is warning Magneto that Professor X is a danger. Magneto, however, says that he wants Professor X to witness the defeat of his dream, and Moira MacTaggert remonstrates with Magneto, and Magneto uses his power to stop her mouth so that she won't talk. He's very angry with her because it was revealed in the previous issue that when he was in an infant state, she intervened into his genetic code in order to modify his behavior. And so he is now wondering whether all the choices he made subsequent to his return to an adult form, whether they were his choices or whether he was a puppet of Moira MacTaggert's genetic manipulation of his DNA code. But Magneto is suffering from injuries, and Fabian Cortez has been attending him and helping him heal, or so it appears. Moira is suspicious of Fabian's attentions and what he's doing to Magneto, and more will be revealed in relation to that as we move along through the issue. So elsewhere on asteroid M, the X-Men Blue Team and the Acolytes are having some R&R and enjoying themselves. There's a swimming pool there, all modern conveniences available aboard asteroid M. But meanwhile, the X-Men Gold Team are getting ready to board the asteroid. So what happens is that as the Gold Team are approaching the asteroid, Wolverine arrives, and it appears to Moira MacTaggert that perhaps Wolverine is going to interfere and thwart the Gold Team's attempt to rescue Professor X. So the Gold Team smash through the outer hull of asteroid M, entering here via Colossus's punch, and they are met by members of the Blue Team: Cyclops, Gambit, Beast, and of course the Acolytes as well, and a battle ensues. And what happens though is that the Blue Team are here and there having doubts about being on Magneto's side. Moira MacTaggert was forced in the previous issue to replicate the process of genetic modification that she used on Magneto in the past on the Blue Team, and that's why the Blue Team are loyal to Magneto in this issue. Magneto arrives, but what happens is that the X-Men Blue Team, by virtue of using their powers, have broken Magneto's control over them. So Cyclops attacks Magneto there, but Magneto is defended by one of the Acolytes. But all the while Magneto is suffering, losing strength, and here he falters, and as Professor X says, he's discorporating. So what has been happening? Moira MacTaggert explains that that Cortez has not in fact been healing Magneto from his injuries. She says here in this panel, what Cortez did was amplify your own power to effect the illusion of recovery. You were no less hurt than before. You simply did not notice it any longer. So he's actually been getting worse and worse. And what Cortez's mutant power does is it amplifies the powers of any mutant he uses his power on. So Magneto's power over the forces of magnetism has been amplified and amplified and amplified, and his body now is barely able to contain that power. Cortez also is a traitor. He has exited Asteroid M on an escape pod. There he is. And he has taken over the Soviet plasma cannon and fires it at Asteroid M. Now Magneto uses the last vestiges of his power to hold the asteroid together and also to disarm the nuclear missiles that have been ringing Asteroid M as a defense system, because Cortez also, it's revealed, endeavored to have those missiles go off as well. So as Magneto holds Asteroid M together, the X-Men teams Blue and Gold prepare to leave with Professor X, and Professor X begs Magneto to come with him and or to allow the Acolytes to accompany the X-Men off the asteroid. And here Claremont puts into Magneto's mouth a really memorable speech. They have made their choice, Charles, so have I in this panel. So the Acolytes are choosing to stay with Magneto. My life was shaped by forces and events none of you can possibly understand. You speak to the best in humanity, I have endured the worst. You imagine the reality of the Holocaust, of the Nazi death camps, I grew up in one. And that's Magneto making reference to one of Claremont's genius moves in Uncanny X-Men 150 to give Magneto, a heretofore two-dimensional villain, a complicated background. That background being that he grew up in Auschwitz. Magneto continues in this panel, perhaps as you say, I'm tainted by blood and rage and death, but perhaps as well that blood and rage and death comprise the armour that will sustain me and those who stand by me through the ordeal to come. The past is prologue, old friend, and the future I behold for you is war. So Xavier continues to appeal to Magneto to accompany him out of the asteroid, but it's not possible, Magneto says. He has to stay aboard to keep the asteroid together. So the X-Men leave on the glider, and Xavier reveals that at the last Magneto opened his thoughts to me. He's still the man I remember from younger, happier days. He was my friend, and yet none of that matters anymore, does it? I save you, X-Men, he said, because that is my task in life, to safeguard my people, Homo sapiens superior, mutant kind, from those who would do us harm. And those forces are legion. In that, and I suspect nothing else, Charles, we are much alike. I have survived one Holocaust, I could not tolerate another, nor any who, by accident, by intent, act to bring it about. I bore no animus to you, old friend, or your students, until you chose to oppose me. Then I had no choice but to count you among my enemies. Have no illusions on that score. Perhaps it's best it end this way, Charles. Best for my dream to end in flames and glory, here far above the earth. For if we were ever to meet again, I would have shown you no mercy. I give you your dream, Charles, but I fear in time your heart will break as you realize it has ever been a fool's hope. Farewell, my friend. And then it appears that the asteroid explodes, taking Magneto and the Acolytes with it. So the final speech of the issue and Claremont's final words for this first 16-year run on the X-Men characters, he leaves to Charles Xavier, who contends that, like Magneto, we have made choices in our lives. We have taken our stand for what we believe in. We were both haunted men, him by a nightmare, me by a dream. Time will tell which of us was right. His choice was fueled ever by rage, tainted by despair, the despair that scars his soul. As ours, I pray, will be sustained by hope. We have it within ourselves, X-Men, as do all people, whether mutants or no, to leave our world better than we found it, to strive for the heights of our potential, to seek out the best in ourselves and in others, where Magneto would have automatically assumed the worst. Yes, that is an ideal, perhaps an unattainable one, but success in this is not what is important. What matters is the attempt and our powers, our role as heroes. Perhaps even the simple fact that we live gives us the obligation to try. So really, really stirring words at the end, kind of capping that dichotomy of attitudes when it comes to the question of prejudice and bigotry, whether to attack and assert one's superiority, as was Magneto's perspective, or Xavier's to try and live in peace and harmony with those who are different from you. So that's Claremont's powerful expression at the end of Xavier's vision. But in some sense, it is cheek by jowl with Magneto's perspective, that darker perspective, and Magneto going out in that blaze of glory. So really a tremendous, powerful swan song by Claremont, capping that 16-year run, never equaled by any other creator in mainstream comics, the comics produced by Marvel Comics and or DC Comics. A unique achievement. And I hope you enjoyed the video today and the little journey through X-Men number 3. And if you have, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow.